Darlene, thank you so much for being on the show today and taking the time to talk to us on such an important issue, and that is helping people to stop quitting, smoking, vaping, other things
Yeah,
now. But talk to me about first how you got involved in this project.
sure. So 2020, which was a hurricane of a year for everybody, I was approached by both a friend and my church organization who the organization was Health Resources in Action. A friend of mine worked there and she said, "Hey, all year we've actually been helping students with the fight against vaping." So what they realized is even in middle school students, they realized that they were having kind of these reactions to vaping and vaping products. Students were dying, parents were coming to the schools like, hey, it's kind of like they're going through withdrawals, like they're literally getting off drugs. So hearing these stories from my friend made me go, whoa, what is happening with the youth in our state, in our country, that they kind of seem like drug addicts, but it's based off of nicotine products. So that was my first kind of intro into this world, just hearing the harrowing stories. I work with young people. I work with high school students in the Massachusetts, like the Boston, Cambridge area. And so I have a heart for young people, what their issues are, what they're going through, why they would turn to smoking, not just that they smoke. And so hearing that really just wrenched my heart. But then last year in 2020, HRIA was giving out grants to help spread the word that they had kind of won this fight to change the law in Massachusetts that would allow them to sell fruity flavors and most importantly menthol flavors, which actually hide the disgusting taste of nicotine products and help people to get addicted because they don't really uh, taste what is in these products.
This needs to be taken down by the end of by
Now.
right now. Go ahead and get the easy ones down first, and then even the systems aren't allowed to be sold.
Yep.
So the pens, the anything used to vape with.
And so it kind of tumbled from there. We were awarded a grant. I was the kind of project director on that grant. And in the training of learning more about nicotine products, how they're marketed, how they're sold, who they're sold to, it just made me pretty passionate about helping people to get resources to quit and to get the laws to change so that it could be for the public health, but a lot more, most importantly, the health of our young people.
Imagine a just society where people are seen as more valuable than company profits. For decades, the tobacco and vaping companies have intentionally and continuously risked our health for their profit. They flavor menthol cigarettes to make them easier to start and harder to quit. They make menthol products cheaper in neighborhoods of color to get people hooked. They put more menthol ads and displays in Black and Latinx communities. And they target LGBTQ+ communities through ads with phrases like, "Take pride in your flavor." Massachusetts wants everyone to have a fair chance to thrive and be healthy. So as of June 1st, 2020, menthol and other flavored tobacco products are no longer sold in Massachusetts stores, which will improve health in our communities. No menthol? No why. Visit nomentholnowhy.org for more information and tips to help quit tobacco for good.
Why, in your opinion, do you think that young children are most vulnerable? And do you think that companies are specifically targeting young people?
Yes. So I think one really interesting thing to me is that these companies spend $9 billion on advertising. And so I was like, 9 billion, that's a very large number, which has to mean that they're making so much money back if they're willing to spend that amount of money on marketing advertising. So I absolutely believe that these companies are targeting young people, people in the LGBTQIA community, Black folks, Hispanic folks specifically. And they are putting that much money into advertising because it works. And if they get you hooked young, early, then they have a customer for life. And so that was the first big thing. But you can see it in kind of the colorful packaging. Vaping has become popular among young people because it doesn't look or smell as deterring as like old cigarettes. And so a lot of times you just think, oh, it's no big deal. It's fruity. How can it be harmful? Um, their friends are doing it socially, so they don't see any issue with it. They get to make a cool like puffs of smoke with it. So I think they're being targeted. But on the flip side, young people might turn to it, one, because their friends are doing it, they don't think it's harmful. But two, it's fruity. It's kind of the way where it's placed in stores makes it seem like candy and like
Mm.
junk food products. And so they're like, oh, how bad can it be? It's next to the gum, it's next to the front counter.
Colorful
There,
packaging and
yeah, the
everything.
packaging, it
Yeah.
plays a huge role in what would interest them. But then the other thing is that young people are feeling major amounts of anxiety. Um, Major amounts of stress from social media, from school. You know, I never had to grow up and make mistakes in front of the world or have it shown on Snapchat or IG by friends or frenemies or fake friends or, and so that is a lot of what our young people are facing today. And to navigate the world pretty much under a lens, it has got to be difficult for them. And so I could see why they would turn to smoking, um, to kind of relieve that bit of anxiety, stress. But they don't realize what it's doing to their brains and to their bodies as they're still growing. So,
And you are working with the awesome Abundant Life Church in Cambridge, which we are both members of.
yeah.
And so, how did that kind of partnership come to be? And why do you think it's important that the church is getting involved in this type of work?
Right. So this was actually a pretty powerful point because I worked with young people. They were like, hey, you should partner with this and help us get this grant. And I was like, well, that doesn't mean anything. But after looking into the grant, what I found was that Health Resources in Action partnered with many churches and they partnered with many community groups, some people who have been working on tobacco laws and getting them changed for decades. Um, and other kind of student or youth chapters, I believe Predicate 4 is one of them, who have tobacco or smoking information centers with young people at the center, driving those programs in schools. And so we were just one of many community partners because they recognize that community partners, churches, community groups have a more impactful voice in the community than their voices would be if they just said, hey, we have these free things for you. Will you come?
Mm.
Not many people are going to listen. So they tried to go to trusted organizations around Massachusetts to say, hey, we know if we can get the word to you, that you can get the word out to where it matters, to Black and Brown people, to Latino people, to young people, to people who are kind of on the fringes who we may not have the connection to just recognizing who we are, how we are, where we live. We don't have the access and the inroads to those kind of communities. And so they really leaned on their community partners. And it was actually super helpful for the entire campaign.
That's awesome because you don't think of churches kind of being involved in this kind of work, but it really is a place where you can get support, but you can also get the spiritual support that you need to help you through these kind of challenges. And so I want you to talk a bit about the campaign that you're involved in this year, Help to Quit. Give us a little bit of information about what that is and what you're hoping to do with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year, like you said, in churches, I think more than anywhere else, we recognize that quitting, changing your life, changing your mindset, improving your health, everything is going to be a journey. There's going to be step backs, there's going to be step forward, and you're going to need community, you're going to need people, you're going to need coaches to help you to have success. And so this year, there's a campaign targeted at young people around vaping. It's called Facts No Filter.
Got a friend who can't give up vaping? Don't give up on them. Learn how to help them quit. Get the facts, no filters, at mass.gov/vaping.
The goal here is not just to get the law changed so that kids and young people don't have access to it. That was last year's kind of campaign. This year, we are getting you resources to quit. And so it's a big word called cessation products. I don't know if a lot of people know that that's what they're called, but they're basically resources to help you quit. And so there's a hotline with coaches, there's youth coaches, and there's adult coaches where you can call this hotline and say, hey, I'm struggling to quit. Um, can you help me? And whether that is emotional help, mental help, or actual products that you can take so that your body has less of a negative reaction to withdrawing from nicotine, all those resources are available to you. Um, I believe it's on the website mass.gov/vaping. And this year, the goal is really not to just say, hey, we changed the law so you don't have access. The, this year's goal is to get you the resources you need. The resources are free. Some are actually incentivized. So you can get paid, I believe, $50 for your first phone call. And then if you go back 2 or 3 times, you get another monetary amount. And so we're really trying to get the information in people's hands to say, hey, not only are there resources for you to quit, they're free, they're insensitized, and they want to help you along your journey because quitting, a successful can sometimes take up to 7 times. So we don't want you to feel the shame of starting to smoke because of whatever reason. We don't want you to feel uh, pressure that you weren't successful the first or second time. We want you to continue on the journey to quitting. It's better for your health. Um, and so we really want to push the resources in people's hands. Many people don't know that cessation products that you can take, I think, medicinally, are sometimes offered at your doctor's office. So they're sometimes offered included in your insurance. And so if you really do want that help, there is help out there, and we want to spread the word.
And you have an event coming up a week from today.
Hmm.
So talk about that. This is a focus group, another opportunity to
Yes,
earn some money. So talk about that.
sure. So on August 25th at 6 p.m., on Zoom, so you don't have to come anywhere to do it. You just need the Zoom link. We are having a focus group, and we recognize while we do have access to some people, our community is still maybe not large enough, not wide enough. And so this focus group is really asking your opinion, your voice, whether you're a smoker, non-smoker. We need the voice of young people, and thank you to my young people who have already signed up. You know, young adults, older people, and say, hey, we have these great sources. Can you help us distribute it? Have you ever heard of cessation products? Have you ever heard of tobacco and this help to quit line, this phone number? Did you know there was a texting campaign out there? And so we're asking questions of people in the community to really make sure that we are getting these information to those who need it. And so that is happening on August 25th at 6 p.m. Please uh, you can email us at alccares at alccame.org. And you can also visit, I believe, the alccambridge.org website to find out more information and sign up for the focus group. You will get a $50 gift card at the end of the focus group session. It's about 45 minutes long. It starts at 6 p.m. and we should be over by around 6:45, 7 p.m. And by 7:30, that will be in your email. So all you need is an email address, Zoom, and you can join us for that focus group.
See, you make $50 an hour. That easy. And you're helping people.
And
Now, is this particular focus group only available for Massachusetts residents?
it is. And so these resources are Massachusetts specific. And so it is only for Massachusetts residents, but the cessation products and the products that will help you to quit smoking are actually statewide and free. And so you can Google, hey, quit line or help to quit smoking resources and type your state in Google or Bing or whatever your search engine is. And it will give you the access to free resources and free products to help you to quit smoking. So while the focus group is only for Mass residents, um, free resources to help you quit smoking. It can be found nationwide.
Have you been in contact just through your work in the last couple years of somebody who's like benefited from this help and has really kind of changed their lives?
Yeah, so a couple people, and it's been amazing to see how transformative it is. I've met people through other programs, even one or two of our church members have participated and heard about this campaign. I'll speak of one because he actually was a part of the No Menthol, No Why campaign we did last year. His name is Valentino Robinson. But there are one or two others who listen to our videos, who listen to the racist tactics that these companies have used.
Tobacco-related diseases are still the #1 cause of death in the African American community, and that's not a coincidence. During my time with Truth Initiative, I read dozens of research articles and stacks of internal documents directly from tobacco industry files. I learned that the tobacco industry strategically and successfully infiltrated my community. And while it's true that they targeted many groups, the targeting of the Black community has been uniquely damaging.
Critics charge that the tobacco companies view black smokers as a growing source of income. In fact, they say, blacks are the target of carefully plotted and highly specific marketing campaigns.
And they looked back in their life and they go, huh, I thought smoking was my fault because I was hanging around the wrong people. I was doing kind of the wrong things. And they said, while that is true, they did take responsibility for that part. They were like, there was no reason as a young kid they were handing out free addictive products in my neighborhood. There was no reason that I should have been exposed to this and consistently exposed because they thought, oh, it's cool, it's fun, and no one says you get addicted for life. No one says it, you get all these issues. And with COVID, especially, people were starting to wake up because it did affect the respiratory system. It did affect your lungs and how you breathe. People started realizing that if you were a smoker, you had a higher risk and a more difficult time to recover from COVID. And so it really did make people want to start quitting again and to be successful at it and to find new coping mechanisms for stressors in their lives. And so to hear Valentino's story of going, okay, knowing that it takes 7 attempts to quit encourages me to keep going. He's like, I've done it before. I can do it again. And he was like, I want to make sure that this law is changed and that the law is changed so that young kids don't have to have the fight that I had growing up to start and stop and stop smoking. I've heard other people who they were just like, after hearing, I think we had one or two discussions. We showed a video, Black Lives, Black Lungs, and then they heard all the other issues. And they said, I think I'm going to start going on nicotine gum and maybe slowly work my way into not quitting. And so to know that we kind of sparked that first moment actually made me feel amazing because all it takes is a seed of an idea to get somebody started on their way. I know that from working with young people. Sometimes you plant one idea, one seed, and 5, 10 years later, it kind of flourishes into this idea that you go, they were listening, and it's for their good. And so the same thing with um, helping people to quit smoking. It's just to hear the stories of like we sparked the idea, we sparked conversation. We had couples talking about it. We had parents talking to their young people about it in a way that reframed it from stop doing this bad thing to, hey, what would make you think about smoking? Is it cool to your friends? Is it your stress? And so I'm very grateful that being a part of these campaigns could help spark those conversations, to help parents get informed, to help students feel like they can take action. I think one of the amazing things for me is the push to get the laws changed in terms of taking fruity flavors off the shelf was a partnership between adults and young people to say, we see our friends dying. We see our friends not acting like themselves. Their personality has changed when they can't get a vape or when they can't get smoking. And so to see that partnership of generations coming together for the change, for the good of the community, it was amazing to watch. And you guys can be a part of it, please.
Darlene Reid, thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck. We'll have all these resources available so where you can find out information on helping to quit. on joining the focus group next Wednesday, the 25th at 6 p.m., and you can get $50 to join and participate. Thank you so much for this. And I really wish you the best of everything to continue to help folks in this really important work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.